Well, welcome to the Power and Compiler 2013 webinar series. This is Susan Yoskin, your host for today's webinar. Today's topic is RDI and Collaboration Lifecycle Management with ARCAD. We'll be talking about modernizing IBM I development teams and processes, DevOps for IBM I with RDI, RTC, and the new ARCAD pack for Rational, and we'll be talking about the new features that we announced today. Our speakers today are Chris Trowbridge, the Product Manager for IBM Rational System Z and IBM Lifecycle Management Solutions. And he's been in that position for the past 5 years. Chris has over 30 years of experience in lifecycle management on legacy and emerging platforms, including IBM I and System Z. We'll also hear from and see a demo from Ray Bernardi from ARCAD Software. Ray is a 28-year veteran involved in the System 38, AS400, I-Series IBM I development, and currently is a pre- and post-sales technical support specialist for ARCAD Software. And we'll be talking and he'll be demoing the new ARCAD pack for Rational features. We'll be monitoring the chat and question tabs during the webcast since you don't have live audio, and we'll answer your questions either through the chat or verbally at the end. So now let me introduce Chris Trowbridge. Chris, over to you.
Thank you, Susan. Today, as Susan says, we're going to be talking about our development solutions on IBM I. So let's, without further ado, let's move on. So software development, like any other task, is something that you want to do as fast and efficiently as possible. And there are challenges. You might not have the latest equipment. You may have barriers in your way. It can be tough to find your way in large and complex applications. And some tasks might require a lot of effort and coordination. And of course, there are solutions for that. Modern equipment, improvements to your infrastructure, technology to help you overcome the barriers, and automation of the manual processes. And software development is no different. You have the challenges of multiple platforms, of multiple languages, of complexity. And of course,
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
And of course, there are challenges relating to IBM I. We've got green screen development, dated and siloed environment with a steep learning curve. New developers coming into the IBM I environment faced with developing on a 5250 screen with RPG are not going to recognize the technology, they're not going to recognize the language. They're used to contextual languages. They're faced with an RPG program where every character can mean something and the positioning in the line is important. It's a completely foreign world to them. So there are huge challenges bringing in new talent into that environment. And bringing together teams throughout the development life cycle, bringing together the people doing the development with the people doing the planning and reporting is something that on the I platform certainly hasn't been available. You've been able to do that, but it's been a lot of manual processes. There's not been collaboration between the tools, and there isn't really the governance and traceability that's available on other platforms. And of course, IBM I has been around in its various guises, AS400, System 38, 32, except 36, has been around for a long while. So there are decades-old applications with brittle and often forgotten architecture, many dependencies, documented and undocumented. There are many millions of lines of code out there running daily that require maintenance and update. And of course, add to that the modern technologies of mobile and web. You now have hugely complex applications to deploy, a mix of old and new technologies, and there are huge problems there for coordinating those tasks. And there are solutions to these problems, and those solutions in the IBM I world. We have modern, attractive IDEs. We have tools that can manage the entire life cycle, automate the processes, and link up the infrastructure with a single tool. There are tools out there that can analyze your legacy applications, helping to identify the business logic and dependencies for programmers, whether they're your long-time programmers used to the green screen or new developers being brought in faced with the applications. There are tools now that can help them easily understand the applications. And of course, there are tools to automate the complex tasks like building and deployment and implementing of applications, removing the possibility for manual error, coordinating the movement of programs and data as you release your software. And the IBM version of these solutions is based around a core tool set. So we have a modern, efficient IDE, Rational Developer for I. We have a lifecycle management tool, Rational Team Concert, and then to enhance these, we have tools in the ARCAD software pack for Rational, the ARCAD pack for Rational, that will provide application analysis, that will provide build and deployment capabilities, automating the complex tasks of software delivery. And together, they make up the IBM integrated solution for I development. The tools are all tightly integrated. It's difficult to see the seams between them, and developers and release managers and operations analysts can use the tools as and when necessary to develop, analyze, build and deploy their applications with integrity and consistency. So we have a tightly integrated tool environment allowing you to modernize and automate your software development. So where do we start? Well, of course, we start with optimizing development. So we have a modern assistant IDE that gives the developer assistance, whether they're a new developer coming in straight from college. They'll find an environment that they're familiar with, an Eclipse-based assisted environment with visual editors, context assistance, integrated help, and all the features that they're used to. For the legacy developers that are used to green screen development, of course they're going to have muscle memory and understand their old environment, but now they have an environment that's going to give them so much more. Diagramming and debug tools and visual design tools, giving them a modern, efficient development environment enables new and old developers to become more productive. So we have great empowering capabilities. Visual development is there with context assistance and debugging controls, all in a single modern environment. And we can build on that. So there's more to an application than just editing it. You need to be able to understand it. And in the ARCAD pack for Rational, we have a component, the ARCAD Observer, that lets you analyze and visualize application structures. So not only is it a powerful analysis tool, but it presents that information directly in the IDE where the developers need it. It also enables you to visualize those dependencies and applications graphically, and to print out and report on that information to update your documentation. So you have a very powerful analysis tool. Now, using that analysis information, the ARCAD pack software allows you to build that software intelligently. It understands the dependencies of the application, ensuring that you build what's necessary, you don't miss out pieces. It understands the complexity. And then also building on that information, that information is useful when you're deploying it, enabling you to deploy the applications with integrity and consistency and automatically. And that that is very important. In many organizations, you'll see extensive freeze periods, or a lot of work needs to be done once software is delivered to the environment to ensure there's consistency. And the software not only manages the application, but the related data. It understands that the data related to the environment. It can analyze the SQL and file dependencies and ensure that the data is unloaded and reloaded after deployment. That's great for these software development. But what about getting your software into this environment? And many organizations have a lot of legacy software that they haven't touched for a long time. Well, you don't want to be putting a mess into your brand new clean, efficient development environment. So the ARCAD audit tool allows you to analyze and restructure your applications before you load them into the new environment, identifying the problems that might exist with your application. And then finally, when you're bringing on new developers into the IBM I RPG world, not only is application understanding going to be a problem, but actually just being able to program in RPG. It's not like the modern languages. It's very sensitive for the developer. So ARCAD provide a converter tool that will convert your RPG to free format RPG, which is a version of RPG that is much more friendly for the new developer, allowing them to work in a way that's familiar to them if they've been working, say, in Java or PHP, for example. So yes, we have the ARCAD audit, which can clean up your applications, identify dependencies, source without objects, and all the other issues that you might have with your software, so that when you start off in your new development environment, it's clean. You have the ARCAD Observer, allowing your developers to get a better understanding in context, so directly in their IDE, of the business logic of the applications and the relationship between the components. So not only text-based representation, but you can see the workflow diagrams and the data relationships and the calling chains, etc. Very powerful analysis information. The builder automates the compilation process. It handles the database upgrade process, and it manages the specific intricacies of the compilation. It understands the IBM I environment. IBM I is not like any other development environment. The data, the databases are tightly integrated into the IBM I development environment, so there are specific challenges when building into this environment. So Rational Team Concept in collaboration with ARCAD have a build environment that manages that environment specifically, giving you integrity and consistency in your build environment. And the same goes for actually delivering the software. And this not only applies to IBM I, but also to distributed systems. With the ARCAD pack, you can deliver. You can automate your transfers to production. You can synchronize deployments to multiple platforms and diverse platforms, and there's full logging and traceability with rollbacks. So if you have an emergency, so the delivery might be fine, but you may find an issue with the application, you want to roll it back, you can do it quickly and effectively. And it's the same rules no matter which platform you target. Now, we've talked a lot about RPG and COBOL, but we can also manage in the I environment the case and 4GL environments. So the ARCAD pack for Rational extends the RTC control of software to the case and 4GL environments. The latest release, which is announced today, supports CA2E, the old sign-on, Lancer, Adalia, and the JDE environment from JD Edwards. It allows you to link work from those environments to your RTC work items and promote them alongside your your 3GL code and your Java and your COBOL and your RPG. It's tightly integrated into the development environment, so we're not asking your 4GL and CASE developers to move out of their familiar IDEs that come with those tools. And so we tightly integrate into those environments, bringing RTC and the ARCAD power directly to the developer. Now, one of the other things that we have announced this week is a technical refresh for IBM i 7.1, and included in that is an update to RPG4. So what's changing? Well, the main thing that's changing is we're introducing free format RPG. Now, you might know that the old version of RPG supported freeform, but it only supported it for one specific spec, the C specs. In the new release, now most of the specs are now free format. We've got rid of the free and n-free restrictions. The compiler and the pre-compiler are now intelligent. They can recognize the free format code. What does that mean for a developer? Well, new developers now have something that they can recognize and familiar with. It's not like somebody that speaks English trying to learn Hungarian. It's now another familiar, common style of language. So what's better about free format RPG? Well, here's an example of the old fixed format RPG, and just one letter out of place can cause tremendous problems. The first thing a developer's got to learn is the code letters, the positioning in the lines, which is vital to successful RPG programming. Switching to free format RPG allows the developer to concentrate on learning RPG and making the most of its power. And the ARCAD converter allows developers to convert RPG to free format RPG at will or in bulk, so that a developer now has a much less steep learning curve in moving to RPG. And this RPG converter comes either as a plugin for RDI or on-demand bulk conversion, and it supports all the latest compiler specs. Now, to tie this all together, we have a lifecycle tool tightly integrated with the ARCAD pack and with Rational Developer for I. We have Rational Team Concert. It provides lifecycle management, defect and work item management, so your change requests, enhancement requests can be managed, planned and scheduled, and it links together the team. It has integrated source code management, so you make your changes against those change requests. The change sets are captured automatically, and you can easily manage parallel development. You can suspend and resume work. It has all the latest capabilities of modern SCM tools. But probably most importantly, it's a collaboration tool. It allows all members of the life cycle to collaborate and work together. So you can follow people's progress. You can see what they're working on. You can jointly develop. You're aware of what the team's doing, and you can see the changes. You can subscribe to things and follow their progress. You can see what's in a build or what's in a release. It's providing the information to the testers, the developers, the release managers, when and where it's necessary. And much more than that, it gives you integrated dynamic planning, allowing you to plan your releases whether you're using traditional or agile or lean methods, and you can mix and match. It may be that you've got legacy developers just doing maintenance, new developers doing agile development on some Java. It allows them to work together and collaborate, and for you to plan and visualize and see the progress. And you don't have to go to multiple places to produce reports and track their progress. It's all presented in graphical dashboards. They're available to everyone. So it cuts down on the number of meetings and the time taken preparing for those meetings to run your development process. Now, I'm going to hand over to Ray now, and he's going to give you a demo of some of the new features there. There's a lot of features, so we're going to concentrate today on the ARCAD Observer, the application analysis, and the ARCAD Converter, the RPG converter, which are the core parts of the Power Pack. So I'm now going to hand over to Ray, and he's going to give you a demo of the software.
Thank you, Chris. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay, and hopefully you can see my screens okay. So as Chris mentioned, we're going to be taking a look at a couple of the new items here from ARCAD. We'll be looking at Observer, we'll be looking at Converter. I won't be giving you full demonstrations of these products, obviously, in the time allowed today, but I'll give you a pretty good overview of what they can do, and some of the features and functions that we feel will help you. So this is Observer. You're seeing it right now. It's Eclipse-based. It will also present itself in RDI and RTC in different ways. There are, it appears on context menus and so on when you right-click items. Today what we'll be doing is we'll be looking at this through the client and seeing how it looks here. So Observer is designed to allow you to analyze and visualize your applications faster than ever before, and ultimately to document those applications in some way, shape, or form. So what you're seeing are different views that are available that are looking at a server where ARCAD is installed, and our repository is available, and we can view that repository. So when you double-click on something like a component tab here, it will give you a search panel, and the first thing Observer allows you to do is to look into your repository. Now what you're seeing right here are all the components that make up this business application. You can start analysis here. For instance, here's a file. You might do something like analyze that file and want to see the fields within the file. So this is showing you the information that the repository knows about that file, the fields that make up that file. When you click on one of these fields, you can drill further down if you would like to. You can do a right-click here, further analysis, get down to a component level, field and file. You can see the actual components out there that use this field. So the first thing that Observer does is exposes the repository to you so that you can see different relationships between components within your business applications. I went down to a field level to begin with here. Let's move up a little bit here. I'll do a different analysis, and I'll go to utilization. And here, what we're showing is where that file gets used, what components use that file. Note the jump across platforms. We're seeing it used in Java code, in Visual Basic Code, and in native code as well. From any one of these informational panels, you can right-click and do further analysis, continue drilling down. So this is just some of the cross-reference information that's available within the repository, and it's, again, available right at the fingertips of a developer in RDI and RTC as well. They don't need to come to this client to see this. Pardon me. All right, let's take a look at some of the things that we can do. Here's a program, for instance. If I do a right-click on this, you'll see that, of course, I can do analysis, calling chains up and down, and so on. Observer has some diagramming features that are pretty interesting. Here's an input-output diagram. So I clicked on that, asked for a quick input-output diagram, and you can see what it did here is it went out and built this diagram for me. So again, from the repository, the different files that are going in and out of there. If you click on here, you'll get information about the file. So here's the file name, a description of the file, and so on. Here, you can see access key information. You can see actually how we're getting there if we have that information, and you'll see some of it in further diagrams as I go through this. So here's a basic input-output diagram that you can get with basically just a right-click. That's a very simple one. You can save these diagrams. I'll show you about that in just a few moments here. If I come down here, you see that I have this search area where I can limit what I'm seeing within this application repository area. I'll use the Contains button right here. and I can quickly cut things down. You're also seeing links to other software here. These locks are indicating that these things are checked out and being worked on within change management. So again, everything's coming together and being seen in one place at one time. If we take a program like this one, we'll do a I/O diagram on this one real quick. You'll see a little bit more of a complicated I/O diagram here. Start to bring in some other type of elements. For instance, if I click here, here's a display file. It will show you data areas and so on. Let me see if I can pick up access key information here. So there's the field being used to get there. If it's a key, you'll see a key here, and you can expand it. I'll do one more of these for you. Let me just pick a program here, HSR 215, diagram, input, output. A little bit more complicated program. I'll give you some more information. And here's its diagram. You can see some overlays here and so on. You can work with these figures. You can move them around the screen. You can resize them. You can work with the color palettes. Over here you see a mini map now because the diagram got a little big. You can drag the mini map around and change your view. If I scroll down to the bottom of here now, you can see display files, printer files, data areas in and out. So one of the basic diagrams that we give you right off the bat is an input-output diagram. Any one of these diagrams at any point in time can be saved. I'll go ahead and save this one and show you what we're doing. So here's basically a folder where you're saving diagrams. In this case, we're saving input-output diagrams, and I can name this anything I would like to. I'll call it Ray Webinar. We'll say OK. Save that thing out to the database. It's now available to anybody else who's using Observer, so they can see that diagram. So there's an input-output diagram. There are other type of diagrams available. I'm going to change my view. I'll move to anything that contains ART is what I asked it to look for. Let's go back to a file now. If I do a right-click on this file, come down to Diagrams, you can see a database diagram. We didn't see this before because database diagram didn't apply to the type of item I was using. So I'll click on Database Diagram. It's going to open up a diagramming tool for me. So here's the file that I would like a database diagram on. If I do a right-click now and come down here to Deployment, this is where I can deploy out, go through the repository, explore the data links that this file has with other files, and build a diagram. I can go partial or complete. And basically what we're referring to is the number of levels and so on. Exactly how much information would you like to see? Would you like us to present a table you can select from, or would you like us to just do it for you? I'm just going to have it do it for me right now. It's going through the repository. It's found the related files, brought them in. What I'll do now is select everything, and I'll tell it to arrange it. So now it's arranged the database diagram for me. Now I can see the relationships between these physicals, tables, and so on within the system. If I click on any one of these now, I can see the link within the database. Here are the fields that link those two together. If I click here, you can see the fields that link those two together. So you can pretty quickly build a diagram. Now, as you build this diagram, you might want more information. For instance, in this case, we picked up on the detail order file. I can now right-click here, and I can ask it to go further. I can ask it to deploy that file out as well. And we'll go ahead and we'll do that. And now we're picking up on the order header file, basically. And again, I can see the information here, how the files are linked together. I can save this diagram as well, make it available. This is information coming directly out of the ARCAD repository. I won't bother saving that one. And the last type of diagram that we'll talk about, I'm going to move back to a program to show you this one, is what we call a flow diagram. I'll do a right-click here. I'll come down to Diagrams, Flow Diagrams. Well, it's opened up this flow diagram panel for me. Here's the element that I would like to start with. I can now do a right click here, and I can ask for this, display linked data. When I click on this, what it will show me is information about this particular item, what uses it, what it uses, and so on. As I find these items, I can now select them, and I can select them in groups and so on, and bring them onto the diagram. So this diagram could start with something like a call to a specific program. You could then follow that program through the call stack. You could bring in all the files, all of its calls. On any one of these now, I can do a click, and then I can display its linked data, see how it gets used within the system, bring those programs into the diagram as well, and build myself a diagram that describes the flow through a specific function of an application, showing me all the programs, all the files, all the data areas, and everything that it touches. And then I can save this diagram as well. So what you end up with basically is a visual representation of a specific area of your software in a flow diagram. So those are the flow diagrams that we can produce. Now, all of these diagrams can be saved, obviously. And where you can find those diagrams are here, over in the Navigator. So here's all of your observer information. When I double-click on diagrams, you'll see the diagrams, and here you can specify what type of diagram you're looking for. For instance, if you've been tasked with working in the order entry area, for instance, you might want a flow diagram of that particular area. Now, obviously, these are just example diagrams here, but you double-click on that, and it will go out. It will open up that diagram, display that diagram to you, allow you to work with that diagram, and again, hopefully understand that part of the system faster and easier than before. Now, obviously, you need an observer seat in order to see this type of information within our repository. We want to make this information available to a wider audience, and we give you ways of doing that. There are more things that Observer can do when looking at the repository relating to SQL, relating to ILE. It's all fully supported. Again, today is just a brief overview. The area I'd like to talk about now is the documentation that's available within Observer. We have what we call models for documentation, and then what you can do is you can open up a documentation project, and that documentation project can basically consist of a number of components that you would like to have documented. Now, the way that happens is as you're working within a repository as a developer, doing analysis, whatever, you do a right-click on something, and you can continue adding items to a work list. And you can build this work list. And then you can save this work list. Once that's saved, you can make that the list of components to be documented. Here are the chapters, or what you want documented about each one of the components. So in this case, for a program, I'd like an input-output diagram, a file cross-reference list, the fields that it modifies, its calling tree, and so on. For a file, I want this information. And then you simply tell us to generate the documentation. What we do is we generate the documentation, save it, and then you can export that documentation as HTML. Now, obviously, you can view the documentation from here, but to make it available to a wide audience, this is how it could look. So this is exported now out to HTML. When I click on any particular item, it moves to it, so the links are all active. Description of what's gone on with the program recently. An input-output diagram of that program. Whoops, I skipped right by it. Sorry about that. Seems to want to jump around on me here. I'm not sure why. There's the input-output diagram of that program. Down below that, cross-reference information, all the fields it uses, how it uses them, how they're described, and so on. These links are hot. If I see the article file and I want to know about it, I can click on that. I'll move right to it. I can see the fields within that file and so on. I can see its input-output diagram, its database relationship diagram. So this is the type of information that Observer can provide you and provide you with very quickly. Well, that's one example of some of the things that we're doing. We also want to take a quick look at Converter today. So what I'll do here is I'm going to minimize here, and I'm going to just bear with me a second while I change over some screens. Okay. There we go. You should be able to see this okay. So this is ARCAD Converter. And again, it's Eclipse-based. And what we're going to be showing you today is how to convert RPG into RPG-free. So it basically is a Eclipse-based tool, like I said. I'm going to show you a little movie here that we put together. And the first thing you really need to do when using this tool is to set up your library list and get it set up correctly. We need to know where the from source files are, where the target source files are going, and things like that. So the beginning of this is basically just running a couple of commands to set up a library list. And once you've got the environment set up and ready to go, I'm going to show you first executing a conversion just standalone, Remote Explorer view. So what we're doing here is we're going in and we're setting up a filter that's basically going to point to the source that we want to convert. We're going to pinpoint that source into that information. And then once we've got that, we're going to be able to see all the source that's out there. Then we'll go ahead and we'll select the source member that we'd like to convert. And we're basically asking it for an ARCAD conversion now. So what you're seeing here is the ARCAD converter prompt. So this is where you define the different options and so on. We'll talk about this just a little bit more in a few seconds, but we're just going to let this conversion happen here. We're telling it where we'd like it to place the source. It's showing us some of the conversion options. And we're telling it to go ahead and start the conversion. So it just took the RPG, converted it to free, and what we're doing here is opening up the converted member. So what you're seeing is converted source into free. So that's basically the conversion of a single member from Remote Systems Explorer. And what we're doing here basically is just going straight at it from Remote Systems Explorer. So here's how it would look from my project navigator. So you can see that's open, basically seeing the source files. When we do the right click here, this is where you'll see the option. Here's where ARCAD plugs in, and here you're seeing us asking it to convert it to freeform. So we'll let that go. There's the conversion. Again, where is it coming from? Where is it going to? And here, you're seeing some of the conversion options. So I've got to pause here just for a second, just so we can talk about some of the things that we can do. I know that there are tools out there that help you do conversions, but a lot of things are missed. The ARCAD converter does basically everything, even some of the exotic things like bit on, bit off. We handle that. We handle the go-tos. I don't know of anything else that can deal with a go-to right now. This can deal with a go-to. You can give us information here as to how to do that. So the conversion that we do is complete. This will be free code when it's done. Pretty much usable. So let's go ahead and go by that Options tab now. At this point, we'll start the conversion. It's going to convert the source member for us. And you can see the converted code here again. It's been converted into free. All right, well, now what about a large conversion? We'll see how that gets done here. So instead of pointing this thing at a specific source member, we point it at a source physical file. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create a list of all the code within that source physical file. We're going to identify the list, give it a description so that we can find it later, and we're going to give it a target library. We're going to tell it where to put all of the converted source members. So we're going to come from a list to a specific source file with everything that we find. So there's the list. Then we'll swap over to ARCAD converter. There's all the source members that got onto that list. And now what we can do is tell it how we'd like these things to be converted. What do we want them to be converted to? Programs, modules, what are they? And then we can start the conversion. We'll do a right-click, convert these two items. Again, there's your prompt. We'll click Finish and let that go. So the conversion is going to run for those two items. You can do this for a couple of items, see how you're doing. Then you can go ahead and select the rest of your list. There's your conversion information right there. Then you can go ahead and select the rest of the list and just run the complete conversion for everything on the list. So in literally no time at all, you can convert all your RPG into free. And again, as we mentioned earlier in this webinar, this is so that somebody like a Java developer can work with this code, accept this code, and deal with the way it looks. So there's the conversion process done, and you'll see all the green check marks there. And now what we'll do real quickly here is we'll just go ahead and show you some of the things you can do. You can look at the original source member, because obviously that's something that you would still need to do. So here's the original code. We'll do a right-click on the same item, and we'll go ahead and we'll ask for the converted source. Here's the converted source. We'll pop these things side by side so you can see this. So all the code, all the specs, everything converted for us from RPG to free. So those are the two areas that I was going to cover today: Observer and the ARCAD converter. And I guess with that, I will pass this back to Susan and Chris.
Thank you, Ray.
Yeah, we're here. Thank you, Ray. That was really cool. I did get a question about the RPG. When is the new compiler available? Chris, do you know that one?
Yeah, the new compiler will be available as part of the 7.1 Technical Refresh 7, and that will be available on November the 15th. And it will be available, it'll come out for the compiler as a patch for the compiler and pre-compiler. Okay, and then there's one more question around that. Can I get that RPG converter by itself? Absolutely. The converter can be purchased separately. You don't have to buy the rest of the pack. Oh, good. Thank you. Folks, if you have any questions, go ahead and keep typing, and we'll go ahead and ask the questions of the panel here. Anybody else have any questions? If not, Chris, do you have any parting words we want to kind of wrap up?
Should I pass control back to you, Chris?
Yeah, if you could just give me control back, I'll just put up a slide with the contact details, if that's...
I can do that for you. Hold on, please.
All right, and don't forget, you can type your questions in while we're all here and can answer them for you. Oh, I see one. Okay, so if you want to find out more about this, either from IBM.com or from the ARCAD site, or you can contact your local IBM rep or ARCAD themselves. There's a toll-free number there for ARCAD, or Floyd Delmura, the VP of ARCAD Software in America. It will also be glad to hear from you. If you want to find out more about Rational Developer for I, then again the IBM site will give you more information about that. And for more information about Rational Team Concert, then it's part of the IBM Jazz product set. So if you go to jazz.net, you'll be able to see more about Team Concert and its sister products. All right, so here's a question. Does the observer discover message usage information, not message files, individual messages?
Yes, it can get down to message ID level. Our repository does go that deep.
All right, here's some more questions. Wow, these things are hard for me to bring them up. But. All of a sudden they're coming in. Hey, thanks, folks. We're getting a lot of questions. Okay. RDI already has free format converter. How is ARCAD converter different?
Again, it's going to convert much more than you're going to get there. We handle the go-tos. We handle move arrays. We handle key lists. You can set indentation. We handle bit on, bit off, etc., etc. So a lot of work's gone into it, and the conversion is much more complete.
And the RDI converter only handles the C specs. It doesn't handle all the new specs of the new compiler, so you won't get complete conversion out of the RDI conversion.
Right, won't get D specs or anything like that, yeah.
Right.
All right, here's another one. Does field usage detect usage in embedded SQL statements?
Yes, it does. When we build our repository, we actually parse through your lines of code, and we can find reference to files, reference to fields. We read embedded SQL, we read Java, we read PHP. So yes, the ARCAD repository can find that type of information.
All right, any more questions? Don't be shy. We have all the experts here. I don't see any more just yet. Any parting words? Ray?
I would just like to say that this is a complete development solution for IBM I, but obviously it's a big leap to take it all at once. It can be implemented incrementally. You can start just with Observer or the converter or just with RDI, and you can gradually build up to take advantage of the complete solution.
All right, here's another question. Does it support C?
Yes. ARCAD supports C, yes.
And absolutely, RTC as well, yes. And the rational IDEs will support it as well.
Yes.
All right, here's another one. Is there a webinar about the ARCAD build tools? Do you have anything in the works, Ray?
We've held multiple webinars on our boy, I can talk, yeah, on our pack. If you go to our website, you'll be able to find links to some of the prior webinars that we've held that talk about all the different modules, audit, observer, deliver, builder, and so on. And we do have webinars planned in the future. I don't have them off the top of my head, but there are some coming up, yes.
Also, if you go to the jazz.net library, there are videos of the build and deliver components of the pack. So you can see the products in action by downloading those or playing those videos. If you go to jazz.net and the libraries and search on ARCAD, you will find the videos there.
All right, here's another one. And Chris, I think this is for you. Is there an IBM product ID for ARCAD?
Absolutely. The ARCAD products are in the IBM price list, so are resold by IBM. So this solution, complete solution, is available from your IBM representative. And I don't have immediately to hand the product ID.
I think it's don't quote me, but I think it's 5725-L13.
I'm going to. That sounds reasonable. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, but we can put it into an email what the product ID is to the person that's asking this question as well. Any more questions, folks? All right, well, if we didn't get to your question, or if something comes up that you want to ask, you can reach out to me. I'm Susan Yoskin, and it's smyoskin@us.ibm.com. I don't see any more questions right now. We really appreciate the fact that you joined us today. So we will end the session on RDI and collaboration lifecycle management with ARCAD. We thank you all for coming. Reach out to us if you have any questions, and we'll hope to see you in the next one in our series. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.